Madam President.
Senator from North Carolina.
Madam President, we meet this week at a critical time for our country and for our world. There are wars raging in Europe, the Middle East. China poses a growing threat to the U.S. and our interests in the Indo-Pacific. And we're currently facing the worst border crisis in U.S. history. We're feeling the consequences of these crises all over the country. In New York City, we witnessed illegal aliens attack members of law enforcement and then brazenly flaunt obscene gestures on camera to all of America. In Boston, an illegal alien who crossed the border in December of 2022 was arrested by ICE after raping a handicapped citizen. Pick your city. Pick your state. My home state of North Carolina, we've seen a 22% increase in drug overdose deaths, the highest level ever recorded. This is primarily due to deadly fentanyl that was produced in China, then transported into our country through an open southern border on President Biden's watch. Police departments from Charlotte to Raleigh, they've uncovered tens of thousands of pounds of fentanyl, enough to kill every man, woman, and child, not just in my home state of North Carolina, but in this whole country. Now, in order to tackle the challenges both at home and abroad, the Senate and the White House, they attempted to craft an agreement to deal with this border crisis. Senator, my friend and colleague from Oklahoma, Senator Lankford, he did the best he could considering the ideologies of those that he was negotiating with. But unfortunately, Senate Democrats are still beholden to progressive ideologies and ideologues who believe in open borders. Now, this term progressive, that's a perversion of the term progress, isn't it? Especially since it leads the other side of the aisle down a path of chaos and tragedy. For example, President Biden has taken 94 executive actions that transform the border from a place of relative security to a place of lawlessness. That might be progressive, but friends, it ain't progress. It might be progressive, but it's not progress to live in a nation where children die of accidental fentanyl overdoses before they even learn to drive a car. It might be progressive, but it's not progress to allow terrorists, cartel members, and human traffickers to roam freely in communities around this country. But when it comes to our side's recent history, the Republican House, they acted. They passed H.R. 2. But at the end of the day, it's Democrats who refuse to agree to any provisions that would meaningfully secure our border. And at the same time, the threats we face on the world stage, they demand our attention as well. We've got an opportunity to rebuild the arsenal of democracy, to make significant investments in our national defense, and prepare ourselves for the threat from the Chinese Communist Party. Right now, our defense supply lines, they're brittle, and our manufacturing base, it's not prepared for future conflict, and it's got to be modernized. Our allies and our partners like Israel and Taiwan, they need our help, especially our friends in Israel. They're in a fight for survival, and we need to send them the aid that they need to finish the job and to free the remaining hostages, one of which is a North Carolinian. At the same time, we should share Israel's military objectives: to destroy Hamas, to demilitarize Gaza, and to de-radicalize the Palestinian population. We don't need President Biden's virtue signaling to a Democrat base that's increasingly becoming pro-Hamas. We need to let our allies in Israel and around the world know that we're on their side and that our resolve is indeed strong. If we let our own defense atrophy and we leave our allies high and dry, then forces of evil and instability will be even more emboldened and our world will become even more dangerous. Remember, it is American strength that deters aggression and it's weakness that provokes it. But in order to be a strong nation, we first got to be strong right here at home. We must secure our own border before we can help other countries protect theirs. So I believe that this position is reasonable. And I'm going to mention a quick example for my point here. On one of my recent telephone town halls, I asked a poll question to thousands of people that were on the call. I asked, and I quote, "If you could be assured that the southern border was secure, then would you support sending support to our allies and our partners?" I'll say that again. If you could be assured that the southern border was secure, would you then support sending support to our allies and our partners? Roughly 2/3 of the respondents said yes. I bet it's the same in other states around this country. Most folks, they aren't opposed to helping our friends. They just think we need to take care of our country first. And America first doesn't have to mean America only. But as I watch the process play out here in this chamber, I can't blame folks back home who really feel frustrated. The Senate's initial deal, which at least attempted to address the border crisis, was then replaced with a bill with zero border provisions at all. And to date, there's not been a full amendment process as was promised. For example, I think it would be outrageous to allow a single U.S. taxpayer dollar to flow to Gaza while Hamas terrorists hold American citizens hostages. But this amendment and many others, they're not even going to be considered. The truth is that this entire process, it's not working. The only viable path forward is for Congress to force President Biden to get serious about border security. And then for the American people to see this situation at the border start to get better. And until that happens, we find ourselves locked in a stalemate as the world burns. We can't accept this. Yeah, we want to help our allies and our partners, but to keep our nation strong, we must always put America first. I preserve the balance of my time.